Hello homeschoolers! Welcome to Science Class, the New Normal Edition. I am Teacher Gwen and join me today as we learn new things and new concepts at the comfort of your home.
Hello class! Welcome to the start of your second grading. So in this second grading, our subject matter is more on chemistry. Okay? So what is chemistry? Based on the dictionary.com, chemistry is defined as the science that deals with the study of composition and properties of matter. Okay? Matter, again, I know that you have already discussed it before. It is anything that occupies space and has mass. Okay? Again, it occupies space. Okay? It occupies space and has mass. So, dalawa ang qualification ng matter. Okay? First, dapat nakakapag-occupy siya ng space. And second, dapat meron siyang mass. Ma'am, parang lahat naman may nakakapag-occupy ng space at lahat naman may mass. Yes, that means almost everything can be considered as matter. Okay? Now, under chemistry, our main objective is to study the composition. Okay? So, when we say composition, yun yung kanyang buo, no? So, pag sinabi natin composition, yun yung components niya. And, of course, the properties of that certain matter. So, that is all under chemistry. Our objective for today is to introduce the historical development of atom. So it is important for us to go back, okay, with the development on how scientists discovered the components and of course the atom itself. The beginning of atomic theory. So in this certain topic, we will recognize the scientists and their contributions on the development of atomic theory. First is Thales of Miletus. Okay? So, he observed a certain phenomenon which they believe to be the start of the knowledge about atoms. So, he observed that a wool is a kind of cloth na parang meron siyang balahibo, no? And he rubbed it with amber. Okay? Amber naman is gemstone. No? So, once he rubbed it, he noticed that dumitikit yung balahibo ng cloth. Okay? So, he noticed na meron daw charged particles between them. That's why nagkakaroon ng attraction. Okay? So, charged particles acquires a certain amount of electricity. And amber is a Greek term for electricity. So, dito nag-start yung nag-spark, no? Dito nag-spark yung knowledge nila about atoms. The very first idea about atom was from Leucippus, a Greek philosopher who conceived the idea of indivisible unit called atoms. So, that means idea pa lang siya, wala pa siyang proof or wala pa siyang evidence that there is this what we call indivisible unit. And actually, during his time, wala pang term na atom. Okay? So, hindi pa buhay yung term na atom na yan. Wala pa. Okay. So, he's a teacher and meron siyang student named Democritus, a student of Leucippus who believed that matter consists of tiny particles. So, he believed that all matter is consist of tiny particles. Okay? In his idea, in his explanation, say for example, meron kang isang clump ng sand. Okay? So, medyo buo-buo pa siya, no? Then, once you crushed it, okay? Pag in-open mo yung kamay mo, may mga buo-buo pa, right? So, sabi niya, atom is when you reach the point wherein pag dinurog mo ng dinurog yung sand, darating sa point wherein you cannot cut it anymore or you cannot divide it anymore. Okay? And that is the particle which he believed to be indivisible. Okay? So, halimbawa, papel or paper naman, no? Kinat mo siya ng kinat or pinunit mo siyang pinunit, di ba? So, there will come a time wherein hindi mo na siya mapupunit pa or hindi mo na siya makakat pa kasi siya na yung pinaka-smallest eh. So, he believed that once you reach that point, yun na yung tinatawag niyang indivisible particle. Okay? So, sabi niya dito, I wonder if I could keep cutting this into half forever? Probably not. Before long, it would be too small to see. It would become invisible. Aha! Invisible, indivisible. The atom. Okay? When we say indivisible, hindi mo na siya makakat pa. Kasi yun na yung pinaka-maliit eh. Okay? Invisible naman, on the other hand, hindi mo na siya nakikita kasi sobrang liit niya, di ba? So, yun yung idea ni Democritus about atom. But this idea was rejected by the two famous philosophers during that time, okay, si Plato and Aristotle, which favored the idea that matter is made up of four elements, which is the earth, fire, air, and water. So sabi nila, no, hindi totoo yung sinasabi ni Democritus and Leucippus, no? Because during those times, what you see is what you get. So hindi naman nila ma-prove yung sinasabi nila which is the indivisible particle, and mas pinaniniwalaan nila yung nakikita ng kanilang mga mata. And of course, dahil mas famous si Plato and Aristotle, mas pinaboran yung kanilang idea kaysa kay Democritus and Leucippus. After 2,000 years, nawala na yung idea about that indivisible particle, and a philosopher and a scientist named Giordano Bruno said that atomic concept was more on philosophical rather than scientific. Kasi nga naman wala pang proof noon, no? So hindi pa nila mapatunayan. And Isaac Newton proposed a mechanical universe where small solid masses were in motion. So yan, nabubuhay na yung concept about. Antoine Van Lavoisier proposed the law of conservation of mass. It states that there is no change in mass of a substance involved before and after the reaction. So, dito sa law of conservation of mass, kaya nga siya conservation. When we say conservation, conserve, right? Ibig sabihin nun, before magkaroon ng chemical reaction and after magkaroon ng chemical reaction, dapat equal pa rin yung kanyang mass. Walang magbabago sa kanyang mass. Kasi nga, conserve, nako-conserve siya. Hindi siya nababago. Say for example, meron tayo ditong 5 ml. Okay? ml ng substance 1. And ito naman ay 5 ml din, say for example. Okay? So, dapat, ano ang kanyang magiging product? 5 plus 5 is 10, right? So, ibig sabihin nun, na-conserve yung iyong mass. Hindi nabawasan yung mass mo dapat. Dapat nandun pa rin siya sa ganun pa rin siya sa after ng reaction. So, yun yung pinopropose or yun yung sinasabi ng law of conservation of mass. That there is no change before and after the reaction. There is no change in mass before and after the reaction. Joseph Proust, on the other hand, proposed the law of definite composition. Okay? Ano naman yung sinasabi ng law of definite composition? It states that composition of a compound always shows a fixed proportion. Okay? So, when we say compound, it is composed of 2 or more elements, di ba? So, pag sinabi natin compound, isa o tatlo na elements na pinagsama-sama. Always, sabi dito, always shows a fixed proportion. When you say proportion, meron siyang certain proportionality with other elements na kasama niya. So, say for example, we have here H2O, right? Ibig sabihin po nun, 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. When you combine the 2 elements, you will form water. So, yun yung proportion nilang dalawa. Now, pag nabago yan, okay, kapag dalawang atom ng hydrogen at kinumbine mo sa dalawang atom ng oxygen, okay, H2O2, ano yun? Water pa rin ba yun? No. Nagbago na. That is called hydrogen peroxide or agua oxinada. Okay? Ang layo nun sa water, diba? So, it shows a definite proportionality. Ibig sabihin nun, okay, bawat compound ay meron silang definite composition, definite fixed proportion with other element. So, after many attempts of trying to explain what really an atom is, here comes John Dalton, an English chemist who integrated the work of Proust and Lavoisier and then used them to provide the atomic theory of matter. So, Dalton's atomic theory was the first to complete the attempt to describe all matter in terms of atom and their properties. So, here's the summary of his work. First one, he said that elements are made up of very small particles called atom. So when we say element, it is the simplest substance consisting atoms which cannot be further decomposed by ordinary chemical means. So when we say element, ito na yung mga when we say simplest substance, you cannot hindi mo na siya pwedeng i-break down kasi when you pag-break down mo siya, yun na yung components niya ay mga atom itself. And remember, elements are integrated with other elements to form compounds, and once in-integrate mo naman yung other compound to another compound, then makaka-form ka ng isang substance, right? So halos lahat ng bagay or lahat ng matter ay may component na element. Okay? So, of course, element, makikita natin sila sa periodic table of elements such as, example, we have here iron or Fe, we have gold, okay, and we have sulfur and many other elements that we have known. Okay, second one, Dalton said that atoms of a particular element are alike in size, mass, and structure. Okay? So, since pareho silang element, say for example, you have gold, okay? So, lahat ng gold, kahit gold pa yan dito sa Pilipinas or gold pa yan sa ibang bansa, since gold ang pinag-uusapan natin, okay? Pag tinignan mo yung kanilang atoms, pare-pareho lang sila ng size, mass, and structure, okay? And atoms of different elements differ in size, mass, and structure. So, say for example, gold and silver, since magkaiba silang element, magkaiba rin yung size ng kanilang magkaiba rin yung size ng kanilang atom, magkaibang kanilang mass, and magkaiba rin yung structure ng kanilang atom since magkaiba silang element. Okay? Fourth, 2 or more atoms joined together form compound and remain unchanged during ordinary chemical reaction. Again, 2 or more atoms join. So, ibig sabihin nun, 2 or more elements that join together, they form compound, right? And remain unchanged. Ibig sabihin nun, kahit pinagsama mo yung dalawang element, walang magbabago sa composition ng dalawa, okay, in any ordinary chemical reaction. So, when we say compound, it is a combination of 2 or more elements, okay, dalawa or more than dalawa, okay, na pinagsamang elements, you will form compound. So, for example, you have here carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is composed of two elements. You have carbon and oxygen. Okay, so you have C, which stands for carbon, and O, which stands for oxygen, right? So once you combine these two, you will form carbon dioxide. Another is, we have sugar, C6H12O6. So how many elements are there? Are present? 3, right? We have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So tatlong elements yan na pinagsama together, you will form compound. So in the fourth and final postulate of John Dalton, he suggested that chemical reaction doesn't destroy or create atoms, okay? Hindi masisira pag pinagsama mo yung two or more elements, okay? They merely rearrange the atoms. Okay, so say for example yung salt, we have salt, di ba? You know that salt is composed of two elements, which is sodium and chlorine. So once they join together, okay, nag-combine silang dalawa, it doesn't mean na nawala yung pagiging sodium and chlorine nilang dalawa, no? Instead, they rearrange their atoms to form a new compound, which is called salt. Okay, so they still exist, but they simply rearrange into a new form to form a new compound. Okay. Lastly, John Dalton said that atoms are neither created nor destroyed in any chemical reaction. So he said that atoms cannot be created nor destroyed, and they are indestructible. Okay? Ang ibig sabihin ng indestructible, hindi nasisira. They cannot be broken into smaller parts kasi sila na yung pinaka-smaller eh. So bakit madudurog pa or masisira pa sila kung sila na yung pinaka-smallest, diba? This was based on the law of conservation of mass, but this was proved wrong. Okay? So later on, itong certain postulate na ito, masasabi natin, mali si John Dalton doon, diba? So, it was proved wrong. Okay? Later, okay, kasi we all know that today, we all know that matter or atoms can be broken down into smaller parts pa, no? Kasi within matter or within atom, nandun pa yung tinatawag natin na other subatomic particles. So that's why we have the different subatomic particles. Chemical reaction involved separation and combination or rearrangement of atoms. So pwede yun. So this is now the model of John Dalton. Okay, so ito yung model ni John Dalton sa atom. Para siyang billiard ball, no? But inside this atom, hindi pa niya alam kasi wala pa naman siyang idea about dyan. But he's right that atom is the smallest particle. Okay? But inside the atom, meron pa palang surprise na nandyan. Okay, so that John Dalton's theory was soon widely accepted. Most of it is still accepted today. The only part that is no longer accepted is the idea that atoms are the smallest particles. So we all know that beyond atom, there is still much smaller particles, which is the subatomic particles. Scientists now know that atoms consist of even smaller particles. Okay, so John Dalton said that matter, though divisible in an extreme degree, is nevertheless not infinitely divisible. That is, there must be some point beyond which we cannot go in the division of matter. I have chosen the word atom to signify these ultimate particles. Okay, so thank you so much. If you have question, feel free to ask. Okay, and comment down below. Thank you.